Hey guys, Nick Kringus here, and today I took on my second client for the Great Game of Business as a coaching client. And this person has a unique situation because she is a solopreneur. It's the only person in the company, it's just her. Um, she works with animals. I guess that's all I'll say about that. It doesn't really matter what the business is, but what matters is she's on her own. And so the first call went a little different than most since, so I'll go through the call. The four steps that we went through, the four implementation steps that we went through were the start with the right leadership, share the why before the how. And obviously those we kind of jumped over a little bit. I told her what makes a good great game leader, and start with the right leadership. But it's only going to be her on the design team and on the leadership team. So we kind of assume that she's into it. She has all the qualities, but that's about it for that one. Share the why before the how. Sure, I wanted her to share why it was important to use the great game of business in her company, what she thinks she'll get out of it, and why it will be good for her business, for her, for future employees, and for clients. But the two that we focused on the most were steps 3 and 4, which are open the books and teach the numbers, and focus on the critical number. And those were the homework for next week with her when we meet again. And the first one is finding the critical number takes the assessment. Is essentially the question, what are the top 3 to 5 challenges or issues that the company faces over the next 6 to 12 months in the following areas? So the 4 areas that we look at are people, operational, marketplace, or financial. So once again, it's people or culture, operational or process, marketplace or customer, and financial or numbers related. So what are the top issues or challenges that the company faces in those 4 key areas over the next 6 to 12 months? And from that, we'll get a bunch of answers. Well, from her, it'll be only her answers, but we'll get a bunch of answers and we'll see what we should focus on as the critical number, the one thing that if we get right, will be like the lead domino and will cause everything else to be better and easier. The definition of critical number, just for reference, is an operational or financial number that represents a weakness or vulnerability that, if not addressed and corrected, will negatively impact the overall performance and long-term security of the business. So think of it as your one thing, the one thing that at any given time is going to have the greatest impact on your business, the one thing that you must improve to succeed and that clearly defines winning. So most beginner practitioners of the great game of business, first year or two, they choose profit or profit and revenue. But usually profit will be the number. Some cases, some bigger companies will use like gross margin, but profit is a number that will teach everyone the business, and it will touch everyone in the company so that everyone in the company will have a chance to impact that critical number. So that was the first thing, was the assessment, answering that question, what is the biggest issue or challenge within those 4 areas? And the next part was to open the books and teach the numbers, we have to start creating a scoreboard. And what I wanted her to do was to take her books and to consolidate the P&L or income statement down to a dozen or fewer different categories or line items that represent all of the line items, all the transactions. But when I first got started with the great game of business at our agency, we had like 60 different line items in our P&L. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. I think I wanted to track everything instead of using like tags or some other way. I put different line items, different categories for each one, and I had a bunch of subcategories. It was a mess. So the very first thing that I want her to do in terms of opening the books and teaching the numbers is to consolidate her P&L down to a list of one revenue item, 4 or 5 COGS lines, and 4 or 5 expense lines. So we can have a very basic overview, at a glance scoreboard so that somebody could look at it. We can go through it pretty quickly each week, forward forecast for the month for each line, and we can see if we're winning or losing. So that was her homework, and those were the 4 steps for getting started with the great game of business from a solo entrepreneur's standpoint. Just to recap, the 4 steps of implementation that we went through were the first 4 in the great game of business out of 10. Start with the right leadership, share the why before the how, open the books and teach the numbers, and focus on the critical number. And then to focus on the critical number and to open the books and teach the numbers, the homework was to fill out the questionnaire. What are the top 3 to 5 challenges in the 4 key areas of the business? And to put together a financial scoreboard that is consolidated and has a list of up to 12 line items from the P&L that represent all of the P&L, all the transactions from the income statement, but that are consolidated down into these up to 12 buckets. All right, so that was my first call with this new client, and I thought it went well, and it was interesting to talk to somebody that was just on her own in her company, wanting to expand and wanting to grow. And from that perspective, it was great because we could start the great game of business out on a clean slate. We don't have any mess to clean up or anything to untangle. She's kind of starting from scratch with just her, and she'll put together the game so that once she brings on other people and starts bringing on new clients, the game will already be intact and the company will be playing the game. So she'll be in a really good, she'll have a really good foundation. All right, guys, remember, people support what they help create. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out. And thanks again for watching.